Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Now, it does seem that Germany is to blame for this outbreak, but why were they so quick to blame Spain instead of searching for the source at home from the very beginning?
Well, I think that's understandable. When something goes wrong, it is only human nature to try and put the blame on somebody else. And Germany did that very powerfully, accusing poor, innocent Spanish cucumbers of being the cause of the E.coli outbreak. Now, nevertheless, I think that there's probably a more subtle agenda behind all of this that is closely related to the fact that there are increasing centrifugal forces within the European Union that already make a lot of people talk about partial fractures, partial breakups. We just heard in the previous notes that if Greece doesn't find its way around its financial crisis, it might pull out of the European monetary mechanism, the euro. Very often one can even imagine that Germany, or many Germans and many powerful people in Germany, are probably wondering why they ever got themselves into the euro to begin with. So I think that it's not good to just jump to the first obvious conclusion about a piece of news that we read on the papers. We must try and find other layers of truth and reasoning that might lie behind it.
In effect, you are alluding to some sort of conspiracy. You talk about some sort of forces within the EU. Who would they be?
Well, first of all, I don't think that conspiracy is the right word. I think that what we have to understand is that the mainstream Western media nowadays give us a lot of information, but never quite explain how things happen. So we just focus on little bits, little slices of information day by day. I think we have to understand that when things like these arise, there are powerful reasons behind what's happening. I can just give you one small example. The Daily Telegraph, the London Daily Telegraph, yesterday published that because of what is happening between Germany and Spain, we have to be on the alert, the UK has to be on the alert of terrorist food poisoning in the British food supply chain. So there are a lot of people who will use these sort of problems, which are true and which exist, but which are blown totally out of proportion. I know it's dreadful, but only 22 people have died on account of this, and a couple of thousand, not even 2,000, are actually ill. We are blowing it out of proportion, and maybe that ties in very nicely to other people's agendas.
But that sort of so-called bioterrorism you're alluding to actually does highlight the vulnerability of the food chain, doesn't it? If you do contaminate one source of food, it could have an effect on a massive amount of people. So it is quite a pertinent point.
No doubt about it. However, you know, one of the points it also it alludes to is growing weaknesses in the very structure of the European Union, because with all that legislation, with all these controls that Europe is having and actually has on its food supplies, it all of a sudden seems to have a third world contamination crisis, which one would not expect to find, of all places, in Germany, in Hamburg and in Lübeck. So in a way, I think that we are seeing probably different forces within the European Union, maybe some that don't like the way the European Union is working. There are a lot of people around that who want to, in a way, see that the European Union should change some of its ways. And in specific cases such as this one, could help to drive the point. At the same time, it can help to drive Spain towards a growing financial and economic crisis, which is already looming very close to it on its horizon.
But are you saying also that the media is quick to respond to this and also push that agenda that you're talking about behind the scenes, as you say, in the European Union? Or do you think it's just another story that the media really would want to hype up? It's just another a story for scaremongering, and that the media is mainly to be responsible for this?
Well, no, I think it would be unfair to say the media are directly only responsible for this. However, the media do respond to specific powers, whether it be their shareholders, advertisers, or the people who actually control the media. There is a tendency to push specific stories. Only 1 month ago, the entire planet was just watching a royal wedding. Then 2 days later, the alleged killing of Osama bin Laden. And now everybody seems to be going hysterical or very concerned about the E.coli outbreak. I think that what we are seeing is, in a way, the engineering of social control so that public opinion can be drawn one way, the other way, and back and forwards all the time, even observing what the results are. Because what we are seeing, that's my own personal opinion, I must say, is psychological warfare developing in front of our eyes on a daily basis. And very often we saw this with the avian flu scare of 2005. The swine flu scare of 2009, where all these things were on the verge of creating a terrible problem, and then they just completely disappeared from the media. So I often scratch my head when I see stories fully blown in the media, and they just completely disappeared. Is somebody making some sort of a survey, so to speak, taking the conclusions, taking the data, and then just leaving that story at that and going to the next quote-unquote crisis, whether it be of a terrorist or a pandemic or any other type of, or political or economic even.
Adrian Salbuchi, writer, researcher, financial analyst, joining us live there in Buenos Aires. Thanks for sharing us your thoughts. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.